We've witnessed the rise of two major HBO fantasy shows that have shown a lot of potential at the end of 2021. Amazon's The Wheel of Time and Netflix's second season of The Witcher. While both adaptations made adjustments from their original sources, one did so far better than the other. Let's find out how one series got it right in contrast to the other. First, The Wheel of Time and how they got it right. Let's begin with The Wheel of Time. This is the storyline of a group of young people who are kidnapped from their peaceful town by a witch and her steely-eyed bodyguard. As you may imagine, it starts off very normal and then things get more exciting the deeper you get into the plot. Next, minor alterations that didn't differ from the novel. The first season saw a number of significant alterations, including the elimination of locales and characters, the death of numerous characters, the shortening of narratives, and at least one major narrative detour, which was most likely caused by the departure of prominent cast member Barney Harris. The Wheel of Time had to make some painful decisions in order to adapt a narrative that was virtually unadaptable. Is it true that we were disappointed not to see Cavill this season? Sure. However, it was understandable that the show could only explore a limited number of areas in 8 episodes, and so had to concentrate on the ones it could use the most. Many of the events in Cavill in the first novel, for example, take place in Tar Valon later in the series, with Tar Valon being a city where the plot returns. Previous storylines included Aes Sedai's political scheming and Moiraine and Sion's romance, which were equally as important to the plot. Rather than being a book-by-book adaptation, The Wheel of Time seems like a series with the source material all over the place and in no particular order. They never altered the original material. It appears that The Wheel of Time's team's minor alterations and decisions were made with great care and love for the original material. It never felt like they were altering things just for the sake of changing them, but rather because they were doing the best they could with the medium they were dealing with. In other cases, such as the mystery surrounding the identity of the Dragon Reborn, the adjustments actually improved the plot. This was something the show emphasized a lot, and it worked out beautifully because we spent more time with Rand in the novels. It's considerably more evident that it's him. First-time viewers might be a little tense here, but the adaptation of The Wheel of Time is getting things right, and there's no doubt that the series is doing everything it can to honor Robert Jordan's source material. Now, The Witcher and where they went wrong. After that, there's The Witcher. Much like in The Wheel of Time, there were a lot of modifications made here that were quite logical. Many fans were disappointed when the White Flame was revealed to be Ciri's father in the season finale. However, as strange as it may sound to book readers, it makes perfect sense for the show to do that because the reveal in the novels is based on different individuals calling Emhyr different names. It's only when Geralt calls him by a name he's used in the past that you know who he is. It's a terrific example of an author taking advantage of the written medium's particular qualities, but it won't work on a television show since we see the guy's face. Consider what Game of Thrones did with Arstan Whitebeard. On screen, you can't disguise a person's identity as you can in the book. However, there are times when a disclosure works better on screen than it does on paper. They ignored the majority of the novel. The most significant is that the series mostly ignored the majority of the novel on which it's based, Blood of Elves. Do you recall that wonderful Kair Morhen set where he spent a lot of time? It appears in only one chapter in the entire book. The rest of the storyline follows Geralt and Ciri, with Ciri splitting up to train with Yennefer. This wouldn't be such a problem if the series hadn't omitted or understated some of the novel's most pivotal scenes. The Redanian city of Oxenfurt, for example, is a significant component in the Blood of Elves. It serves as a cultural hub for the continent. In this chapter, Geralt encounters Drisca and Philippa Eilhart, as well as being ambushed by the Michelet brothers in a sequence that plainly demonstrates that people can be just as hazardous to him as monsters within the academy, that educates everyone from bards to academics, counselors to kings and queens. It's odd that despite the fact that Blood of Elves is a pretty short and basic novel, the series proceeds to not even touch most of it, leaving out large portions and completely ignoring others. It'd be reasonable if the series ran out of room, but the problem was that it instead opted to tell plenty of other stories. It's evident that the program put its own ideas ahead of those given forth by Andrzej Sapkowski in his novels, which contrasts sharply with The Wheel of Time, where many alterations were at least anchored in Robert Jordan's writing. The Nefgaardians were severely nerfed in the adaptation. Nefgaard is yet another glaring illustration of The Witcher's errors. The Empire is a financial behemoth in Andrzej Sapkowski's books. They conquer countries and then help them develop their economies and infrastructure. In comparison, the series portrays the Nefgaardians as religious zealots. The show took a complicated problem and simplified it to the point that viewers are no longer forced to think properly about the story's complexities. Francesca's baby vengeance narrative is in the same boat. The elves cooperate with Nefgaard in the novels because they're promised the recovery of Dol Blathana, their ancient home. This is mentioned in the program, but the baby narrative detracts from it. To summarize, for all The Witcher's artistic and visual accomplishments, it falls short when it comes to adapting its original material. At least they did Geralt of Rivia, right? You can't argue that Henry Cavill's interpretation of Geralt of Rivia hasn't been flawless. The narrative of Triss Merigold is significantly stronger, and actress Anna Schafer has truly matured into the part. While the introduction of the monoliths and many worlds was a bit disappointing in terms of how much time it took up this season, it was necessary. Even though it's a crucial plot element for the second half of the series, the multiversal nature of the Witcher novels comes as a bit of a surprise in the book. It's to the show's credit that it's doing this ahead of schedule. Of course, this year's costumes, monster design, and special effects are all on point. There's no doubt that The Witcher 2 is a significant step forward from the original. While translating a massive book series is a difficult endeavor for The Wheel of Time, The Witcher has a similar issue in pleasing numerous fandoms. The Witcher novels have a large following throughout the world, but CD Projekt Red's hugely popular video game version is just as popular, if not more. In conclusion, it appears that the producers of The Wheel of Time made tough decisions in adapting a narrative that was on the verge of being unadaptable, glitches and all. Their love for the original material is undeniable. The Witcher, on the other hand, feels like a show in conflict with itself, a conflict which the series is superior to the novels. Both these productions have many more seasons ahead of them, and there are reasons to be positive about both, but The Wheel of Time does a far better job of respecting its original material than The Witcher does. Next, in other related news, The Witcher Season 3 production date has been announced. The Witcher second season was just released on Netflix last month, but it now appears that the streaming service is already planning to start production on the show's third season sooner than expected. Pre-production for The Witcher Season 3 is scheduled to start this Monday, with filming beginning in early March. It was discovered that the scripts for Season 3 had already been written before Season 2 had even aired on Netflix. The only drawback is that fans are being told that everything is subject to change again. According to reports, the filming is expected to take place between March and August 2022. From concerns connected to the COVID-19 epidemic to a significant injury experienced by series actor Henry Cavill, third season of The Witcher was littered with difficulties. Henry Cavill revealed the injury to The Hollywood Reporter in November, saying that his onset hamstring tear was nearly total separation of the hamstring. The second season has been in the making since before The Witcher Season 1 debuted, and it was ultimately published on Netflix on December 17, 2021, after multiple delays. Many Witcher enthusiasts are now hopeful that the third season's production will go much more smoothly than the previous two. Despite the numerous issues that arose during the show's development over the previous 2 years, Netflix's second season appears to be performing exceptionally well. The Witcher Season 2 has received a positive critical response, with the show's audience rating on sites like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic is significantly lower than the first season. This is thought to be because many fans of the book series and video games were dissatisfied with how the Netflix series differed from the original source material. Some gamers and readers argue that The Witcher is a fan fiction rather than an adaptation. Thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. See you next time.